Doesn't matter if I haven't got a Ferrari or a flash watch and all that. But I was happy.
You're listening to the Johny Pach Show, where I connect you to the most influential, masterful minds of this generation. We're gaining insight into their lives, their achievements, and the stories along the way. Stick around if you too are determined to succeed. This person is a well-known promoter, percussionist from London, who now lives in Ibiza. He moved to Ibiza 7 years ago, arguably the craziest place on earth, but he went there to find his purpose in life and live the rest of his life being who he is and not who people might think he is. Please welcome my guest and friend, Trace Harris. How are you doing, buddy?
I love the intro. Thanks, Johnny. It's really nice.
I really want to get into the success levels of what you've achieved over the years, but I just want to kind of throw some quick fire questions out there for yourself, just to kind of get those brain cells ticking away.
Wake them up again.
Absolutely, buddy. Yeah. So tell me, Trace, what is God for you?
I'm glad you said for me rather than just what
Yeah.
is good, because this way it can offset any potential route over religion, if you like. Okay, so God is a very personal thing. If someone believed it, some guy flying around on the cloud looking like Marlon Brando with a white beard, that's good for them.
Yeah.
For me personally, with what I've experienced the sadness of death, etc. I've experienced the sadness of spending time with my dad's body after he died. I've experienced things. So for me personally, right, I'll try and describe this. I think God is a placebo. Okay, and by placebo, I'm sure you know what I mean.
Yeah.
If you believe it has a purpose, and generally believe it, like visualization. When visualization is not about thinking you're going to get something, it's about feeling you've got it.
Okay.
So for me, God is my higher self. And if I want to twist it a little bit, then the angels and the spirits and my parents that have now both passed.
Okay.
Right? Now, not to get too deep and a bit weird, but when over the process of losing my mum when I was 21, I didn't know at the time, but things have happened throughout my life. Many people would say that's your mum looking over you.
Okay.
So at first I was self-critical of that, but then I found it comforting to believe it, regardless of whether it's true. Right. So when something wonderful happened, is that you doing that? When I visited a beautiful country or experienced a wonderful thing, even right down to my bodybuilding shows, I went over to my mum's grave. And not that I thought anything was there, Johnny, not that I thought my mum's going to jump out of the grave, but it comforted me.
Right.
Okay? So when magical things have happened through my life, and my God, have I had magical things happen to me, I take comfort. Is that you, Mum? And as I'm saying this to you now, I am tingling all over.
Wow.
Now, what is that? Some might say that's your mum tickling you. Great, then it is, and I accept that.
Love
now,
that.
When my dad died very recently, it was an incredible experience because before what happened to him happened, he fell into a stroke. I spent time.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay. I spent time with my dad. I live here in paradise, and I flew back, and I sat and chatted with my dad about death. Right? Wow, to talk to your father, who was 85 at the time, about death. And he spoke to me about death and life and how he sees things. And what he told me comforted me because very shortly after it happened, he went into a coma.
Wow.
And I spent time going back, and it's a whole story which I'll be talking about another time. But I was going back and forward from Ibiza, and spending time with him by his side. The instrument that you just played was integral in that, because I don't know if you know about this, but I was on a plane. It was like I was floating when I was told your dad's in an ambulance. He's been found on the floor. He's been on the floor for 4 days. He's in an ambulance.
Right.
It's like I go click and I'm in a movie. I don't remember, but I was on a plane at hang drum. I arrive at City Airport. At City Airport, London, I don't call the hospital Basildon in Essex because I didn't want to know whether he was dieting. I wanted to travel the last journey, hour and a half, to get to Basildon and find out there. I didn't want the nurse to say to me, he's gone, because it could have been. So I get to the hospital. This is a whole conversation on its own. I'll chop through it a bit.
I like it. Carry on, definitely.
I didn't know my dad was still alive until I go to the reception. I arrive at midnight. I'm like an Ibiza person now. You know, I'm brown. I wear not funny clothes. I love them, but I wear unusual clothes.
Yeah.
I definitely don't look like someone from Basildon. Right? So when I walk into that hospital, there's the sun with the suntan, and they knew I was coming because I made a phone call before, and then I go, and your dad's in that room, and I go into his room. He's in a coma, tubes everywhere, and what do? This is my dad who I love. I'm there because I love him, and no other reason. And I played the hang drum, a smaller version. I played it. I put it on his body, actually, and I wasn't obtrusive. I played it right through the night very softly. I didn't want to interrupt with anyone. I was gentle with my dad, right? And to cut a long story short, I don't know, I think it was 2 days or something when I slept with him and all this kind of stuff. There was a reaction, Johnny, and I went to the night nurse on the desk, and I said, I think my dad's coming around. I remember very clearly she wouldn't look up from her book. Don't blame her, you know. And she said, no, it's just the medicine. And I thought, I'm going back again. So I went back and made sure I held his hand and I tapped it, just like you would now with one hand. I banged the middle bit, as you know, is the bass. Yeah. And I talked to him, Dad, can you hear this? Bong. And he squeezed my hand. Could have been a reaction to the medicine. I waited. Dad, can you hear me? Bang. And he squeezed my hand. And I knew that this is what was going on. And I went and got the nurse. To cut it very short, it goes on for 7 months, right? He comes around. And that drum had something to do with it. And I didn't really understand about sound healing and vibrational sounds. But I was starting to study it, funny enough, with Robert Miles, who you may or may not know from Children. You know the Black Children? He owned Open Lab Radio. He owned Open Lab Radio. He's died now, sadly. But he owned Open Lab Radio in Ibiza, and I was working with him doing sound healing stuff. So I started to understand the instrument and the history behind how the hang drum was developed, why it was developed, what it is, why it's so powerful. Amazing. And this is a bit. And this is the thing, you know, when you throw a stone into a pool and it ripples? Yeah. You know what I mean? Well, the hang drum sends out sound vibrational ripples. Gotcha. And I've since taken that to a whole new level with deaf people who feel it. Remember the word feel it, not hear it, the deaf. I've played to a deaf person and it was mind-blowingly beautiful to do that. And to feel and understand their experience after, interpreted by the guy's mum. I said, what did he feel? And he felt that sound, right? Listen to this. And about a minute after, we couldn't hear it no more. Think about that. Wow. So it's just something really, really special. I know I've drifted slightly off
No. Love it.
But I always like to talk about that in depth because soon after that, my mum's gone, my dad passed, and I didn't feel as though I'd lost my last parent. I felt so there's both, wherever they are, because you asked me about God, right? Wherever they are, wherever that is, placebo effect or religious or whatever you want to call it, but they're where they are together now, and I'm where I am, and I felt complete for the first time since I was 21, which is when I lost my mum. Right? I felt complete. I'm going to use the wrong word. I felt powerful. I felt like I felt strong. So I had to do something with that energy, and this is going to come at my last question you're going to ask me, where that energy went, besides all the wonderful stuff I do, where I channeled that energy. It was like I was given, I don't know, steroids, MDMA and magic mushrooms and ayahuasca all in the same pot. Yeah. But ask me about that later on, because I'll never get off the subject. So you asked me is. God to me is an everlasting energy that I believe still exists left over from my parents. Maybe that's what reincarnation is. And I feel that in me from my mum and my dad. I live my life now as though I'm living it through their eyes, if you know what I mean. You have to edit some of that out. It'd be like a whole 5-hour chat.
No. I absolutely love that. I mean, just going back to what you said there, you're absolutely bang on the money. That sounds. It's all about feeling, and as you said, it's all about purpose. No, I'm totally with you on that. And what a lovely story to share with us as well. With your father right at the ending hours there. Thank you very much for that.
Comforting. It's very comforting for me every step I take in my life now to think that, right? Because I believe it. I believe I'm looked over. I believe I'm carrying on their energy, if you like. Call it whatever you want. It's very comforting for me. And there's no religious whiffle waffle. That's just how I feel, and I'm thankful for that.
No, brilliant. And that leads us on nicely to a little subject I want to cover with a book that myself and yourself greatly feel very passionate about. And do you know what, Trace? Looking back to it, I kind of feel that you might have introduced me to The Secret, you know.
Well, possible. Shall I answer now with that?
Yeah, you can.
Right.
And
Go on.
And a question that I want to throw out there immediately is, how has that book changed your life forever?
Okay, right. Later on in my story, The Secret, what a book. It requires a book to describe it. Let me tell me my own personal thing, and you'll understand this if you've followed it up with stories and people's interpretation of The Secret, etc., etc. It was given to me a low point in my life. Now, when I say a low point in my life, I'm naturally happy. I'm naturally lucky. I'm blessed, right? I just am. But I have low points, as we all do, and extreme ones. The death of my brother's little daughter, 3 years old, the death of my mum, lots of stuff that financial destroyed, our money can tear families apart. So I have my lows, but I've personally, it's always been someone else, like my brother losing his daughter, my dad losing my mum. I know it's my mum, you know, and his girlfriend, but I had a low point, and the reason I had this low point is this. When I was 50, which was the age my mum died, and if the term mummy boy is a real term, I'm a mummy's boy, and thank God for that, because I loved my mum. I loved my mum to bits. At 21, I hadn't done much, right? Really. I was a typical East London, Essex boy, wrongly thinking that England rules the world.
Yeah.
I know we accidentally won the World Cup football team in 1966, but that was an accident, as we'd have won twice, you see. Although that's great, and it winds up my football friends. And on that subject, my dad was a pro footballer, and I used to wind him up over that stuff. But when I was 50, I started to look at my life. I'd done so much. In fact, at the age of 50, right, let me just wind back. Smarty Party was at its highest power. I was arguably one of the best or successful promoters in London.
Yeah.
I was a very, very, this is all me stuff, but hear me out. I was a very successful percussionist. I had a beautiful house in Wapping on the Thames with my then partner, one wonderful person, Claire. And I had my Ferrari, you know, your toys. I had my Cartiers, I just had anything I wanted, you know. We're not talking millions. We're talking about anything I wanted.
Yes.
But I was happy, right? I was happy anyway. And this money that I started earning, I suppose big money came to me on the Millennium Night, 2000, when I owned my own venue, the Glass House on the Mermaid Theatre.
Yes.
It was my club, and Millennium Night, everybody could rinse. This is a big night, right? No one knew what was going. No one was going. It was almost worse than the coronavirus, because everyone thought, oh no, it's going to be the end of the world, and it was really amazing. But I owned the nightclub. I owned a nightclub on the Thames. My top room. I don't know if you ever went to the Glass House.
I was there.
The Thames.
Yeah.
If you look left, bent your neck a bit, you could see Tower Bridge, and if
Yeah.
you looked right, you could see past Blackfriars Bridge, and dead across my windows. This is a great story, right? Dead across my windows, across the Thames, a large clock was mounted on top of the building there.
Right.
A countdown clock. Now, before I did my own Smarty party there, I was still doing it in Turnmills. I was in Turnmills then.
Yeah.
And I just left doing ministry for 5 years with my event, but I needed independence. Ministry was wonderful, but I was never independent in there. I was always under the control of the great Ministry of Sound and ruling. It was. So Smarty Party, although they was big in there and became semi-famous, really the truth is I was never independent. There was always my strings being pulled by Palumbo and his tribe, and that's fine. I appreciate them, but I was liked. I was their percussionist, and even 10 years later they brought me back for their birthday.
Yes.
So I was recognised as part of their meteoric rise as a percussionist. In those days there was all the amazing DJs, but there wasn't any percussionists in there, so I was quite lucky at that point to get involved in that.
Okay.
And that was special for me. 1993, 94 that was. So what happened? Millennium's come round, right? I've been promoting now. I was successful. I was now in Turnmills doing so well in there.
Yes.
And then I had my own venue, and Danny Newman, I don't know if you know him, the owner of Turnmills.
I've seen him around.
I love Danny Newman to bits. For me, he brought Turnmills up from a 16-year-old kid with his brother Paul and his dad Johnny, from nothing to an incredibly successful club. And I wanted Turnmills, but I had to leave the ministry on good terms, and Millennium was my landmark. I had the opportunity to buy the lease on the Mermaid Theatre. Now, back to Millennium, right. So everyone's going, what should we charge? There was people going in the West End in some of them silly clubs like China White and all that bollocks, saying, we're going to charge 500 quid and all that. And you got your John Duckets, who we both know, and other people. And I was waiting to see who else fired the gun. Was it Kinky Malinky, or was it Connected? And all them didn't exist then. I don't think Jesse James had his Connected then. No, he didn't.
Right.
So I was wondering, what's everyone going to charge? I want to see a benchmark, and I think 100 quid was the benchmark that promoters of my kind of level was going to charge, right? So I thought, I'm going to go in at 70 quid, right? So I went in at 70 quid. I had a capacity. I'm just going to tell you a silly thing. The tax man listen to this right?
Brilliant.
I set it at 70 quid. My Smarty Party was already successful, but already in Turnmills. And I said to Danny, I'm jumping ship, Millennium, Danny, because you ain't going to give me Turnmills on Millennium Night, are you? Obviously. It's your chance to do your thing in your club. So I did my night, my venue, my bar take, my door money, my everything. And 70 quid. So the capacity I was legally allowed, of course I can get arrested again, but I don't mind getting arrested for this, was about 850, I think. 850.
No way.
I ain't going to do the maths, but it was 850 capacity. My business partner then, right, at the time, who was the background person who did all the banking and all that kind of stuff.
About 59,000 that, Trace. Not bad for a night.
Well, it gets better or worse, however you want to describe it.
Yeah.
So I paid my brother, bless him, I don't know, 500 quid, just because I had to do tickets. It was a Sunday, I think, Millennium.
Right.
Weren't allowed to take cash on the door, and it's a semi-corporate building, so I had to be careful I ain't going to get nicked, right? Because they're all over the place, the police, because there's a million people along the Thames to watch the fireworks, right? And I paid my brother, I don't know, I'll give him 500 quid just to sit at my front desk and make sure the doorman don't do any backhanders, letting them in the call, all that stuff, all the gangster rubbish.
Got you.
Right? And I'm selling the tickets. I've got touts all over the place, and within about 2 hours, they was gone. Right?
Wow.
They was gone. I thought, fuck, I ain't even open yet.
Wow.
Right? It's the best situation that you can ever have as a promoter. I'm sold out and I ain't even open yet. Right?
Amazing. Well done.
So what happened then is my business. Maybe this is why he ripped me off later on. My business partner weren't really into up staying late. So about 12 o'clock, I was full up, 850 capacity. We all saw the fireworks. He went home. Right, he went home.
Yeah.
And then I realised my cloakroom was in my big hallway, and I asked my sound man, we got another sound system in the storage? He went, yes, yeah, we had, because at that time Penge Party, who was Jason Lorimer, I don't know if you know him. He was in the big. I'd hired him the big theatre part, and I had the front part, 3 rooms, right? So he was in there, right? I was in the front, and I put a sound system in, moved the cloakroom table back about 50 yards, right? And I went down the front and charged little 50 quid. They'd missed midnight now. And I had 1,500 people squashed in there.
Wow.
I think I was right? And I squashed them all there. And it was so ridiculous. I got fed up with earning money, right? I thought, this is ridiculous, right? So I shut the door, told my brother, lock the door. No one can come in. At 3 a.m, they were still trying to come in.
Oh,
they
great.
was all wandering around, looking at the fireworks, picking up broken champagne bottles and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So the next day, I get home and me and Claire have a count up. And oh God, it was just ridiculous, right?
Wow.
And, my head's swelling now, but this is me back then, right? I'm excited about it now.
Yeah.
Why not? And I had to get rid of this money, so I didn't know what to do with it. So I thought, right, I'll buy a Ferrari, which I did. And I don't know if you should edit all this out, actually. It might be a bit...
Carry on. We love it.
Right. So from then on, what I did was, everybody that came New Year's Eve, I said, listen, you can all come back for Smarty Party January the 14th, right? No one not many go out January the 14th. They're all stint.
Yeah.
And you can come free with your New Year's Eve ticket. This is when I had a database that was letters.
Excellent. Good.
Right? You can come free, but if you come after 12 o'clock, it's a tenner, right?
Good incentive.
No one came before 12 o'clock, so I ended up earning another 35 grand or 45 grand. Right, so what do I do with all this money? I'm going mad with all this. What do I do? So I started buying things, like a club in Mallorca and kind of stuff.
Harley Davidson, I love that bike.
Harley Davidsons and did caddies and Cartier watches and all that with all this. And it was great, but I then got in what you call rubbing shoulders with real serious millionaires.
Yes.
And then I noticed something, Johnny, that
Go
some
on.
of these, seriously rich people with helicopters and horse stables full of Ferraris, not horses.
Yeah.
And they all sort of started shimmying up to me because I was just like a bit of a lad, I suppose. And
Yes.
Multi-millionaires.
Welcome to America's Next Investment, a new era of investing.
Hi guys, it's Johny Pach here again, and I'm back this time to host a brand new show with a brand new podcast for America's Next Investment. A&I podcast series is where companies can gain exposure, brand awareness, and promote their capital raise. A&I podcast viewers will also have the opportunity to invest in companies featured on the A&I podcast. So make sure you stay tuned for America's Next Investment podcast show. Check out americasnextinvestment.com for the latest air dates and times. If you're a company and you want to be featured on the A&I podcast series, contact us today. Details can be found on our show notes page at the A&I website. I'm Johny Pach, and stay tuned for America's Next Investment podcast series. Do you know what? The highest caliber of clubbing promoter. Tell me this, right, Trace? The title of this show is Money Is Not My God. And listening to everything that you've just mentioned there about your journey, this is so relevant now. Why is money not your God?
Well, maybe I thought it was because I've been lucky enough to be clever and entrepreneur. Even when I lived on a kibbutz, when you don't make money, I found a way of making money when I lived in Australia, funny enough, I was working for handicapped kids selling pens. That sounds a bit divvy, doesn't it? It sounds a bit gawky. Selling pens. I made a fortune.
Wow.
I found a way to sell thousands of them, and they couldn't even print them quick enough.
How fantastic.
Because I broke all the rules. They told me in Sydney, Australia, right, sell pens for handicapped kids. 1/3 of the money for that pen, those pens, is yours. Two-thirds of the money is for the children, handicapped kids. The very first day, they told me I had to wear this badge and go out with some bloke called Jeremy, and he would tell me that you sell it on the street. You don't stop people that are walking to work, and you have to stand outside this or that building. You're not allowed to go into the tower blocks or disturb anyone. So, and he showed me how to sell them, and I watched him, and he sold a couple, and he made probably $4 in an hour, something like that. And
fantastic.
But then I thought, fuck this. So I told him I'm just going to get a sandwich. Jumped on a tube in Sydney, King's Cross. Got out at the very next station. Right, I was blonde hair, body bit builder, suntanned, and all that.
Yeah.
Walked into a tower block. Listened to it. I thought I'm going to break all the rules here. Bang, everyone looks at me walking in there because they've got suits on. Right, I'm a pommie, and which by the way means prisoner of Mother England. So we're not the pommies, they are. Right? And I go up the lift floor. I went up to the top floor. This is a true story. It's a great story. Top floor, floor 50 or whatever. Open the reception, walk out. A stunning secretary standing there. I'm all talking the way I talk. Hello, love. Do you want to buy a pen? And I remember her saying, "Who the hell are you?" I said, "I'm selling pens for handicapped kids. Would you like to buy one to help them, please?" And she said, "Are you an Englishman?" So I said, "You got a funny accent." And I said, "No, you got the funny accent, love." She said, "You're funny, aren't you?" I said, "Look, do you want to buy a pen?" She said, "How many you got?" I said, "Well, 50. Why do you want? Why?" I said, "Give me them a minute." She goes into a back office, opens it up, right, and I see the door open. It's typewriters. There's 100 women in there typewriting. She sells them all in 10 minutes, right? All my pens. Comes back with the $50, right, which is not much, right, but it was in 92 or something.
Right.
I get on, so I've got no pens left. So I go back to the tube, get back to where the pens was, walked in the office. I said, "Hello." He said, "What are you doing back here? Don't you like it?" I said, "I've sold them." He said, "How'd you sell them?" I said, "Does it matter that I've sold them?" He said, "Well, there's your $15, right? Which is like a third of 50 or whatever it is."
Yeah.
And I said, "Can I have another bag?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "These normally takes all day to sell these, or 2 days." I said, "Give me another bag." Anyway, to cut long story short, I continued doing that and ended up saving about 60,000 quid. Right? I went mad. I wiped out Sydney for pens, and I went
wow.
But do you know what? And then when God, my ego's flying out the window because when I sold eggs, they're not buying eggs. An egg's fucking just an egg. They're buying the personality of the person selling it. So I realised I was lucky I could make people laugh. She didn't buy the pens. She bought the fact that she thought I was funny. So I realised that I could roll that over into so many things. Right?
Got you.
And I've always been lucky. So whenever I keep coming back to this, whenever I have a dip, it don't make me panic until I got to.
It's all about sales. It's the same with me, mate. I just want to intercept there. We were obviously having a little bit of a quiet month in March, and I didn't freak out. I told the team it's absolutely going to be fine. We just worked extra harder to contact more people, more clients, get more business rolling, and we had a fantastic April and May. It's all down to sales, Trace, with everything that you do. Don't you agree?
Yeah, because you're either selling yourself, whatever that product is. It's a bit like the old-fashioned milk round, right? Whenever a milkman gave his round to someone else, the milk sales went down half or less.
Right,
It's the same bloody milk. It's the same milk. So these people have got to get to like you. You've got to be charming. You just got to be friendly or nice.
Got you.
Now, back to the subject. So I had all this chance to make all this money's coming to me, but I realised when I was selling, not the pens, and the pens, if I could earn, $250 working for 2 days,
okay,
or $500 working for 4 days, I would work the 2 days and go to the beach, Bondi Beach, right?
Yeah.
So I did that for a year nearly. I could have gone on and on and on. I just could have, and probably got up to a huge amount of money. But it started to affect me, and it started to affect my pleasure, my weight training, my martial arts, my music, my everything. So I quickly realised that what I'm putting in front of the money, providing I've got enough, I've got enough. Now, what is enough? Enough to one person is very different to enough to another person.
Yeah.
So when and I'm going to clear this bit up now, as I've gone back to it 4 times.
Fine.
When I became 50, I started to check everything I did. And then I realised this is the age my mum died. And at 50, I had a slight bit of paranoia that maybe I'm going to die of cancer because I'm like my mum. I follow my mum. Everybody says I'm like my mum. So I'll go and have a checkup. And when I had a checkup, the doctor, Dr. Gari, his name is, on Canby Island, who knew me, knows my family, he actually was annoyed because he said, "You're the healthiest person I've ever seen. Why do you want a checkup?" I said, "Can you just check me, please? Or I'll come in here and pretend I'm ill then." I said, "Can you check me?" And he done this super medical of me, right? And then I thought, right, I'm going to go for it. So this is the key now. I thought, right, I'm not going to work no more. I've got this stuff and all that. I've got my big house. I'm going to find a way to just go and live in the sun and be a cash millionaire, I suppose.
Yeah.
So I bought another club. I bought the club. This is a big story. I've got to try and shorten it. I bought the club next to Fabric, which was called Lift House. It was called.
I remember.
Fabric. And I bought it and renamed it the Meat Bar. And I bought it with a business partner that had been working for me on a different project for about 15 years, right? 10 years.
Great.
He even worked me on the Millennium Night. He was the person that did all my back work. So I buy this club, £500,000, right, next to Fabric. And
bargain.
Well, it was, and it was making a lot of money because it was when Fabric closed, right?
Everybody rolled in.
Everybody just walked in there. All you had to do is put house music on. It's like the Pied Piper with the flute. They just walk in there, right? If the music's nice, and there's some amazing DJs. I had access to so many of them anyway, and so I used to use that as a training ground and put DJs on. Tell them, if you do all right, I'll let you play in turnmills, so that I've got a stepping stone for them.
Great.
Anyway, I bought that club. Then I bought this venue in Mallorca, Calador, Mallorca.
Okay.
Right, with the plan of slowing down. I was trying to slow down because I thought, well, my mum died at 50. Let's just go and sit on a beach, but let's just make £1 million first, shall we? So I overstepped the mark, right? And this is the key. I've got all this stuff, and I got conned. I got hugely conned.
Right.
Of £500,000, £480,000 by, I don't care saying his name, a business partner that I'd looked after for at least 10 years. In fact, I know now that I bought his houses, his cars, his watches, his everything, because he was always stitching me up, right? But I never noticed it. Because I'm a bit trusting. I can make money, but I'm used to deciding where it goes and all that banking stuff. I just crap.
Yeah.
But I'm good at making money. Now, because I'm good at making money, I attract leeches. I attract predators or vampires, whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
And he was a very clever one. We bought this house. So we bought this club, Meat Bar, mortgaged up on my house. My house, right? I had a 70 grand mortgage. It was worth 600 grand, and I always had 60 grand under the bed, right? So I had all that equity. Now he knew all that, and I should have been more clever, really. To cut a long story short,
go for it.
I buy this club. He tries to turn it into a restaurant, right?
Right.
And it starts to ruin it. And I get the likes of Jesse James, who did nights in there, and Hughes wanted to do stuff in there. They're massive. They are now. Enzo, I don't know if you know him.
I've seen him.
He's fucking great. He's got fuses all over the place. He wanted to be in there because of me. And Seb Zito, his friend, and all that. So I had it all set up to just tick over. Just play house music, pay the bar staff well, put a good manager in there, hold your hand out and make a fortune, right? But instead, this person, and I sound a bit bitter, I'm not now because I let him go, but I've got to say it, he was envious of my lifestyle, having fun. always have fun, but still do the job, right? And so he started to devise a way to decapitate me, to set me up and stitch me up, and he did very, very cleverly.
Right.
And this is going to come across as though I'm really stupid, and maybe I was. I allowed him to do all the finances, so he sold my club without me knowing. Now you may wonder, how the hell did he do that? Because I gave him power of attorney and I trusted him and I let him do all the stuff. And something happened where I was a bit like being the chairman of your own company that you set up, and all of a sudden your board kicks you out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Well, that happened in a club. Now, no big deal, really. I wasn't that worried about losing the club. It was just a club to me, but I was left with 480,000 plus interest debt. So I went from having a mortgage of 70 grand, right, cash flow all over the place, to having 480 plus £560,000 mortgage, right?
Yeah.
Overnight, because
madness,
the bank foreclosed and all that. He disappears, and by the way, disappeared completely, not just from me, from his own family.
Joking.
Disappeared. He had done something, and it messed my head up. But not so much the money. What messed my head up was having to go to court and try and find out what's my rights, what's my legalities.
Gotcha.
Sure enough, the Lloyds Bank, I hadn't read the imprint where it says if you default on payments, we come to the main equity hold, and all that confusing stuff, which I am rubbish at.
Yeah.
Right? So this all came on top of me. And it slaughtered me.
Right.
And the truth, I had to fold Smarty Party because of it. I lost my house. My relationship with then Claire, she's wonderful, still love her a bit, still close friends, imploded, right? But that kind of had to happen anyway, and there's another story there, and she's wonderful and she's happy, and I am. So that's a great story. That's all right? But this person that did that, what he did is so bad, it's I can't describe it. It's the ultimate stab in the back. He was stupid, and I'll tell you why. For 3 years, I was in hell just trying to save my wonderful house on the Thames. Every month, I had to find 2,700 quid. And Smarty Party, when you're struggling for money, right, you panic. When you got a big pot of money, this is visualising as well, it just gets bigger, right? But when it shrinks and you got nothing, and then your cars go, they're just cars, and you got no cars, and then you got to pay your mortgage, and you got to earn 2,700 plus food, you got to earn £3,500 a month, right?
Yeah.
You panic. So I had to start doing parties that was calculated, so just in case there was a problem, I could lose my house the very next month. If, for instance, what happened 7/7 with the bombing, right? That's the only night I lost money at Terminals because no one got on tubes.
Okay.
Right? I couldn't take a risk because I lose my house overnight. I just managed to save my house every month. This went on for 2 years. Right?
Wow.
I just saved my house, but I couldn't move forward. So then money started to have a different meaning to me. All I ever wanted was to find 2 months' mortgage payments, 5,200 quid. I would then consider that safe. John, I used to have money under the bed to pay it off any time I wanted to for about 10 years.
Yeah.
Right. So listen, money takes on a different meaning. I had to be careful, but I'm good at it, right? I can rein in. It doesn't matter if I haven't got a Ferrari or a flash watch and all that. So I started to question money and the importance of it. And then I was actually struggling to pay the mortgage. And then my dad, bless him, then he was 82 or something. I started to have my version of what you might call a breakdown. In the first time in my life.
I had no idea. Yeah.
Yeah, and I contemplated, I would never have killed myself, but I did contemplate suicide, I suppose. But I'm not a drinker. I'm not a drug unless I'm dancing. I'm not a drug user. I don't go into cocaine or alcohol and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm relatively grounded anyway, naturally. I'm relatively got a good base, right?
Got you.
So I thought, shit, what do I do? What do I do? I'm saving this house. And this is my ego still sort of slightly elevated.
Yeah.
I did do some parties. I took on the Honey Club in Brighton. They paid my mortgage for 2 years, though.
Great club.
They paid my mortgage, but I kept my house. Then I thought, what am I doing? So I made a decision. This all happened at the age of 51 when my mum died. I'm not enjoying life no more. I've still got a big house. On the surface, I'm happy, but I'm struggling to buy coffee and I'm panicking. I'm not enjoying my life. If anyone's going to have an heart attack, it's me, but that ain't going to happen. So I went to see my dad and said, Dad, I'm in bits. I'm in trouble, right? He said, what's the matter, son? And I got emotional. My dad's never seen me in trouble. I'm traced from television, the bongos and bodybuilding shows, and owns his gym on Canby and's got these nightclubs and a silly yellow Ferrari waking my dad up in the morning.
Yeah.
So all that went, and I went and saw my dad, right? I said, Dad, I'm in trouble. He said, come in here, son. Talk to me. I said, well, I'm in financial trouble, Dad. He said, all right. He said, tell me your situation. And I think the first thing he said, because I didn't have it, said, you still got that silly yellow car? That's a Ferrari. To him, it's a silly yellow car. I said, no. I said, no, Dad, but I don't mind that. And he said, have you still got this and that? I said, no. He said, how much is your house worth? I said, I don't know, Dad. I don't know, Dad. 600,000 maybe. And he said, right, put all your debts in one basket, sell your house. I went, sell my house. It's like my house. It's like my castle. He said, it's just an house. He said, I've known you, son, when you got back from Australia, when you got back from Israel, when you can't even afford a blimmin' cup of tea and you crawl yourself up and go and sell pens or sell chicken eggs or whatever else you do. He said, you'll be fine. Sell your house. And I was like, so I went home and said to Claire, we kind of split up, right? That's a massive emotional thing. And I said, I want to sell the house. I can't deal with the pressure of having to earn this money.
Right.
I can trickle along all the time and save this house, but I'm not enjoying my life.
Yeah.
I have to enjoy my life. So that we split up, which again I keep repeating is fine. Smarty Party kind of had to take a different direction, so my ego wanted to keep it up. So I started doing ski trips and parties in Malta, engaged in parties in Ibiza at Bora Bora, and it all looked great on the surface, but something was missing, right? I sold my house. I ended up with about 60 grand, I suppose, and I came here.
That's
right?
it.
And I came here. And during that time, this all happened really quickly. When I was in my low period, someone gave me, you asked me about the book, The Secret, some girl gave me, a friend of Claire's, give me this book. So I read it. And as you know, The Secret is kind of an easy reading. It's almost like a child's book, right?
Yeah.
And I read it and I left it by the toilet. Excuse me bringing up the toilet. And I left it by the toilet and I read it and I read it. And I read it over about 5 months. I read it, and then I started to recognise all the things in it. And I started to think, well, I kind of like this anyway. But what does it actually mean to visualise? And I quickly worked out that whenever I was like doing my weight training, I visualised winning a bodybuilding show, and I won.
Got you.
When I bought my percussion, I visualised playing for a great club. I played for Ministry of Sound.
Yes.
When I wanted to be on television, I visualised, I visualised being on The Big Breakfast, and I was on The Big Breakfast.
Brilliant.
But all that stuff I just thought was luck. And then I read this book, I thought, is it luck or am I making this happen? So I'm going to put this to the test. I'm going to visualise the ultimate life. And I visualised, this is really weird. When I travelled to Australia, I met this guy who had just a house, and he had people renting the rooms, took them out kayaking or rented his 4 mountain bikes out.
Okay.
And his life was really simple but beautiful. He cooked some breakfast in the morning, egg on toast. And I looked at his life and I thought, wow, I don't envy anyone, but I thought, this is really cool. So I put that into practice in Ibiza. And it's exactly what I do in Ibiza now. I run my house as a B&B. That's bed and bongos, not bed and breakfast. I won't make a breakfast. And I don't advertise it, and people just come to me. And my house, some people call it a commune. I get why they say that, but I rent the house. It's a very expensive house. I have teepees in the garden. And not now because they're not up since winter because of this lockdown.
Yeah.
And people throughout my past and my parties and my travelling, right back to Israel, come and visit me. And they're not coming to couch surf or to. They know this house costs me whatever it costs, and I have a little structure where they contribute, and I cover my costs. and I do events here which are small by scale but equally as fulfilling. And people come to, you wouldn't believe that people have come to my events, like the people that run stuff in London, of course, Danny Newman and Clockwork Orange and Charlie Chester. Do you know these names?
Yeah, of course.
And all these people, they run big things. People that run Pasha and Privilege come to my house. And it's completely free. There's no money exchanged. I could make money on it, really. I could actually make proper money from doing what I do, which I call the gathering.
Yeah.
But I choose not to because I feel it will spoil it. And it's wonderful. But because of that, I get asked to play the hang drum at incredible things. I mean, how can I explain it? My life now, I'll explain it in a nutshell, and it answers most of your questions.
Yes.
My life now gives me every bit of fulfillment I ever have. I have the most incredible, beautiful, and this is another story, woman besides me. And that we have what I call twin flame love, which is reciprocated love. That means someone that you love loves you equally back.
Okay.
And they're not frightened of the amount of love you can give them, and they don't abuse the fact that you're loving them by mistreating you. And that's what many men do to some women, sadly.
Got you.
Right. So I have that. Now, because I have this love, I've got a great house, but I could honestly live in a bomb shelter with Sylvia and I would be happy. However, I happen to live in a paradise, right? My life is so blissfully wonderful. Now, let's talk about the money. I cover my costs, right? And I have enough. I live free, I suppose, and a little bit of money extra. And it comes to me, I get opportunities come to me all the time.
Okay.
This is the key, right? This is the thing. I've said this on a Dutch television programme by some presenter. She did not understand my answer, so I'm going to say it to you twice. Because she it's a programme called Lauren. It's the Dutch version of the Kardashians. God knows the amount of people that saw that messaged me. So she tried to put me on the spot on an interview.
Yeah.
She said, what do you mean you walked away? Because she goes out with some Barcelona football player. I don't even know who they are, right? She said, what do you mean? She tried to show me up. She said, what do you mean you turned your back on money, or you don't like money? I let her talk. Or you no longer need money. What do you mean? You've got all these. I've still got a nice car, I've got stuff. So I said, right, this is it. And I brought up my mum. And I said, I got too greedy. I overstepped the mark when I was 50 years old. If I'd have known what I knew now, I wouldn't have bought that club in Next to Fabric to get more. I didn't need it. I didn't need my club in Mallorca. I didn't need it. I didn't need any of that, but I bought it. I overstretched the mark. I was greedy, right? I was greedy. So I lost it all. Now, the lesson I learned from that, which is the most powerful lesson I had, I still, Johnny, have the ability, I know this, right, and I'm going to push my ego in here a little bit.
Go for it.
I still have the ability to make big money, and I say no.
Yes.
And when I say no to some of the people I say no to, they do not even hear me say no. And I get opportunities offered me, especially here, to do things. And I know it's going to make me $2.5 or $5 grand a week, but I say no.
Yes.
Now, the key is knowing you can do it, right? It's a bit cocky and flash, but say no, because I don't want to.
Okay.
I don't need to. The main reason I don't need to is my partner, Sylvia, right?
Yeah.
I know from her background, I know Sylvia would love me of equal measure if I have nothing. I don't want to impress Sylvia. She quite likes my drumming, right? But I don't need to impress Sylvia with a big house or a Ferrari or the ability to do some of the things I do. It is such a powerful love. So I'm going to actually bend my question. What is God? God is love, right? And I found it. I will honestly be happy now, regardless. If I need a bit more money, right, like 2 years ago, I said to Sylvia, let's go to Africa or wherever we went, Bali and all that. But let's so this is really going to annoy people. I'm sorry to the people listening.
That's great.
So I thought, right, let's earn $5 grand. So I said to Sylvia, right, our bedroom downstairs, we've got a big ensuite. It's lovely. You can imagine it's tiled floor and all that. On my roof, where I'm living now, is a 2 by 2 metre sunrise room. It's just a room, right? So I suggested to Sylvia, let's rent our room out downstairs, We might have to struggle with a wardrobe. We don't have our sunken bath. She's just turned up and laughing. We don't have our shower and all that stuff. Let's live on the roof. Sylvia comes from nature. Her mum's house is pretty much the last house in an ancient village in Transylvania.
Wow.
Sylvia can handle all this. Trust me. Sylvia goes to town on this room on the roof. I'd love you to see it. It's even bricked up, right? Bricked up, you can't get in it. Sylvia knocks all the bricks out, and I let her go to town on it. And we rent my room out downstairs. And what does that get me? €6,000. Right?
Yeah,
so let's
great.
go on holiday with €6,000. This was 3 years ago. So we go travelling on €6,000. It can go quite a way if you don't sort of stay in the best hotel. And now we still live on the roof. And then last year we went to where did we go? Cambodia and Gilead and Bali and all those places.
Amazing.
€6,000, euro. But listen, this is quite important.
Yes.
I know I can make some money if I need it, but I'm 60 years old now, right? And I can't keep thinking if I lose everything, I can always get it back.
Yeah.
Because you may, like muscle memory, at some point you can't get it back, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want to put Sylvia at risk with my entrepreneurial craziness, right? So Sylvia, whether she says it or not, she's standing in front of me now, so I'm going to say it for your ears as well, Sylvia. Sylvia needs a bit more stability, not me running around playing the bongos, not really caring. So in the next 5 years, I want Sylvia to have stability. I can do that because I've got her by my side. And I'm not going to go crazy and get back into clubs. Last year I was offered Zoo Project. The year before I was offered Sankey's before Dave Vincent left.
Right.
I was offered Privilege the year before. A good friend of mine, Kai, who runs Abode, incredibly successful guy. He does amnesia. Very successful. It's called Abode. It's a big event in London.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's a mate of mine. He came to my gathering. He's a promoter like I was 20 years ago. He's flying. He's a genius.
Great.
He comes to my night and he goes, I want to live like this. So I've had to say to him, he's a really good mate of mine, I'm going to send him this message. His name's Kai. I'm going, Kai, just wait a bit, because what you do, if you stop now, you're letting down thousands of people, whereas I bowed out gracefully. And I don't think I let too many down. Maybe a few DJs don't know people I stop. But I didn't think I let too many people down with Smarty Pie. I let it drift away. People say, bring it back. I wouldn't bring it back if I could do it next week and earn another $100,000.
No,
I promise.
Absolutely great times.
My life now is balanced. It's calm. I just love my life.
I was going to ask you, because we've come right to the end of the show, and what an incredible story. I mean, I've literally just been sitting here visualizing, dreaming bigger. I want to finish up on a question that I want to ask you. Out of all of your incredible life and all of the success and everything that you've achieved, let me ask you, and for the listeners back home, Trace, what is the key to life?
The key to life is to begin to recognise why you do things in life. Are you doing it for a good purpose? Are you doing it for yourself or just to please other people? You know, as a promoter, you just do this anyway.
Yeah.
Your ego's flying out the window and that's fine. But as you get a bit older, and it's actually not even about age, because I would have loved to achieve this at 50. I just took the wrong road by buying cups.
Yeah.
Right. My life now is, and this is a really powerful thing, and it might understand. I repeat, I'm 60. If someone said to me, "There's a time machine, Trace, you can go back to any age you've ever been," and I'm just as healthy and fit. I might have a couple of wrinkles, but I look pretty good at my age, right? I just do, right?
You look good, mate.
I wouldn't go back to any age that I've lived at all and stay there. And now that's a strange thing to explain. For instance, body-wise, physical-wise, if you're going to talk about that, probably at the age of 50, I was the most beautiful, athletic me I could probably be.
Yeah.
If you're talking about beauty and visual, something like like a woman, for instance. A woman's body may be at its best at 40, but then a woman can glow inside and be beautiful forever. Look at some beautiful women that are 70; they're still beautiful, right? Now, I'm not comparing myself to a beautiful woman, but I have what's called, and you meditate, right? I don't do yoga. I should do yoga and I should meditate, although my meditation is to love my partner and to play the drums, play the hang drum, and just chill out.
I love that.
But if you can become happy from inside, it lasts forever. That means if you can truly become happy with yourself, no longer have to do stuff to please other people, right? I don't mean that arrogantly.
Yeah.
And just find your own balance in life and look at things that used to bother you that just don't bother you no more. And even smile. And if someone happens to ask you for advice, don't give them advice. But if they ask you it because you're a bit older, you've done a few things, think about that question and give them your wisdom. Whenever I meet very old people, very old people,
yeah.
I always try and say to them, I've done it with my girlfriend's old nan, who was like 90, and she had to translate in Romanian. And I wanted to see the woman's face when she said to her, if you could give me one piece of advice, what would that advice be? Do this, Johnny. Find an old granddad or an old nan or the woman across the road. Try and find time to have a coffee with them, right? So they relax with you. You may have a nan or a granddad. And when you're not talking about yourself, we have to do that in this interview because you're asking me questions.
Yeah.
Sit, look them in the eyes, right? Watch their face and say, Nan or Auntie or George or whoever they are, if you could give me one bit of advice, and really say it slowly, what would you give me? Watch their face, winding back their life, winding back what they've done, where they fell down, where they stood up. And they will give you the most beautiful answer you'll ever get. And they will love you for asking them that question because you've given them their whole life a purpose. Do it. It makes people's lives, old people. Some old people don't get asked nothing, right? Ask an old person and ask other people to ask an old person for their advice. Because so many of us young people run through life, get to the destination with no idea what the journey was even about. If you can find that at an age I've found it now, right? I wanted it at 50, but I kind of messed it up. I've got it at 55, I suppose. I've certainly got it now. And I just go through life just loving it. My lowest point now is, well, I can't even think of one. And I see other people sometimes. I try not to intervene because they go, what's he going on about? But you see other people complaining about things that they can't change. And you wonder, you just want to say to them, look, it's not helping you to moan about the fact that your party's not on tonight. Really, does moaning really help? Think about it. Does moaning help your situation? And of course it don't. So my thing is to be able to love someone who's loving me back. I'm gifted. I didn't find that till I was nearly 60.
Right.
I didn't find, but I never give up on it. I never did what sadly, a lot of people fall out of love and go and buy a big dog or something, right? But he's only going to live for 15 years. Never give up finding a partner, I suppose. I can say that. I don't know. Does that answer your final question?
Absolutely love it. Just absolutely love it. And I'm absolutely blown away, and I'm gonna do some meditation after this because you got my brain ticking. Yeah.
This Johnny, who we sent a hang drum to. Do you remember we sent one back to England? He's good.
Please give my love to Sylvia, and she's probably waiting to cook you a lovely meal tonight and spend some time with you. And
they're all down there. There's 10 of them. Every night, one of us cooks the food for everybody else, and they bang a big gong. So I've got to go down there now, and there'll be all food on the table. And everyone will be fighting over the roast potatoes.
Amazing.
Johnny, there's 10 nationalities in my house, so the diversity of the food is unbelievable. 10 nationalities. There's 12 people in my house. 10 nationalities. Brilliant. So I don't even know what's down there when I go down there now. Like 10 years ago, all I had was Weetabix and scrambled egg.
I promise you now, when we're outside of our isolation, I will fly out and spend some time with you guys because I'd absolutely love that.
I'll whack you in a yurt or a teepee. I won't let you have any electric.
Whatever you like. Whatever you like, buddy. I'm all for it. Look, thank you so much. And Have a wonderful evening, Trace.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Look forward to hearing it.
Catch you later. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Hi guys, just chillaxing on my handpan. Thank you very much for listening to that podcast. Trace Harris, wow, what a guy. Good friend of mine, probably one of the biggest club promoters in the world. And it was great to hear his story of success and how he has now found spiritualism. Major part of his life, lives in an incredible, tranquil, peaceful villa in Ibiza with his lovely partner. And the message that he just portrayed at the end there of life is all about pure love, gratitude, giving back, and just living in the present moment and at peace. Feel free to subscribe. We always appreciate your comments on the shows. Send those over. And guys, I will see you very soon. Peace out.